righty, welcome back. Alabama Politics This Week. Josh Moon, David Person. Our thanks to the folks at Wind Creek Entertainment for all they do here. We really appreciate them, and the folks at SPLC as well. And for everybody who follows along, supports us, and does makes this thing go and happen every week. We really do appreciate it. There were two things that we were going to cover. I can remember one of them. Oh, I know the big one was, and we'll just start here and we'll see if the other one comes to us as we go. But SNAP benefits and where things are now with SNAP benefits. Kay Ivey on Monday or Tuesday said that she's going to release $2 million to help food banks better perform in the state. I appreciate Kay Ivey doing something, not a lot, but something.
Yeah, it's not much, but something. But it's something.
Yeah, it's something. She at least did not take the same stance. This was only hours after Trump had tweeted or whatever the hell he does, put out the message that he was not funding SNAP, and which is direct defiance of a federal court order, by the way, which all of you constitutional purists out there should be in an uproar about, but for some reason are not. And so. That was nice to see. And listen, that was a direct result of the Democrats. It was Anthony Daniels, Bobby Singleton, Marika Coleman, Laura Hall, all of those folks that showed up at the State House twice to hold press conferences, to hold a little bit of a rally outside the State House, and brought the media in and had dozens and dozens of people talking about this and what they were saying. And they were 100% right, which is to say the state's got money to do this. We could fund this and not have people starving over a political disagreement, and we should do it. And when the money flows back in, refill it.
Right. And I read somewhere that in addition to that $2 million, which again, I think is almost a pittance, but it's something. So I applaud her for that. I read that she's also going to be sending to SNAP families, I think $300 directly, if I'm not mistaken. I saw that somewhere. Did you not see that?
No, I did not.
I saw that somewhere.
Well, I hope that's the case. But it is, this game that they've played with SNAP now, it is disgusting. It really is disgusting. Okay. And it did not have to come to this. It did not at all have to come to this. They could have funded SNAP, but they decided that, and when I say they, I'm talking about Republicans. Republicans at the highest levels decided to use these hungry people as a pawn in this game. That's exactly what they've been used for. They could have funded this thing from the very beginning. Some of their own senators, including Katie Britt. Got to also give Katie Britt some credit for wanting to sign on to this bill. Now, she said some other things that takes credit away, and I'm not certainly behind some of the things that she said because she has flat out lied about some stuff, okay? But at the same time, her, Josh Hawley, some other senators had a piece of legislation that was going to fund the SNAP program. Of course, they couldn't do it because that would require the House to come back in to pass the legislation, and as soon as they did that, then they were going to pass the Epstein bill and release all the Epstein records, and that would expose to Trump for being part of a pedophile ring. And so we can't do that. Here we are now, and everybody is pretending as though this is a big ploy by the Democrats and they're, on the right, and it's not selling. It's not selling at all because people know that you've got the money there. Now the courts have said to you, you've got money to do this. Pay for the program and make the program work. And still they are resisting doing that because they need the specter of hungry people to force Democrats, because they know Democrats have a conscience on this.
This is part of the playbook that they've always used. In my mind, I think when it comes to children and vulnerable people, a lot of the political elites, I'm not talking about grassroots conservatives, because I think a lot of grassroots conservatives are compassionate people, to some degree at least. Maybe not as compassionate as I would like to see them be, but I think they have certainly a modicum of compassion when it comes to children and the elderly and people with disabilities. But the political elites, I mean, look at what they did to immigrant children during the first Trump term. You had kids in cages. I mean, they were separating families.
Man, Let me ask you this: Do you,
separating families and leaving immigrant children out there vulnerable. Come on. This is part of that extreme hardline mindset that side of the aisle tends to have, or at least the more conservatives, the more conservative ones on that side of the aisle.
I have found myself saying exactly what you just said. And that's that, I don't know about, the conservatives. And basically, we're both saying, the people around here that we live and talk to all the time, I don't know that they take this mindset. I don't know, man. I think we're wrong. I mean, I've watched the commentary on a lot of the pages and stuff about SNAP benefits. Not necessarily political pages, like for example, the what's happening pages on Facebook. That what's happening in Madison, what's happening in Athens, what's happening in Huntsville. Those pages about where people listen. There have been some fantastic people on a lot of those pages, and I'm going to try to write some stuff about some of the things I've seen on there that have just been really spectacular of people just posting, hey, if you need help, post it in here. Let's see if we can get you some help. And just the hundreds and thousands of posts after posts of people asking for help and then being overwhelmed by people offering support for them. And whether it be kids' clothes, adults' clothes, rides to work, food. I mean, it's just a gamut of things. It's been really, really nice to see. And it seems to have spanned races, ages, just everybody involved in this. They've been great, but there have also been, in all of those things, dozens and dozens and dozens on each one, comments of people putting folks down for accepting the benefits, for, that is benefits for people not working. And it's, and those kind of things. And I'll tell you one thing that I saw, and I'll send you this because I don't know, I'm sure you probably have not seen it, but it was a girl on TikTok, and her little thing that I guess made her come across my TikTok, she was calling churches, and she was asking telling these churches that she had a 2-month-old baby. She had run out of formula the night before. The baby had not eaten for all night long and through most of the day, and the baby was starving. Is there any way they could help? And listening to and recording their responses. And I mean, you hear them make the call, you hear the response, you hear the whole thing. As far as I could tell, she went through, I want to say 25 or so churches.
Mm-hmm.
One.
Wow.
She got one. You hear all the time about, check with your local churches for different things. And listen, I know some of these churches to have the food drives, have the whole thing or whatever. But they didn't know. This is a mother calling and saying my baby hadn't eaten.
Yeah.
And can you help? And it was a Catholic church. I want to say in Kansas City. I think that's where it was. But it's a Catholic church somewhere that said, hey, come in. But I mean, she called churches in Tennessee. There were several in the Knoxville area, and she was from Kentucky. She called some in Kentucky. She called some in Louisiana and Texas. She called the big, was it Lakeland church in Texas?
Yeah, in Texas. Joel Osteen's church.
Lakewood.
Lakewood.
Lakewood. Yeah. They could put her on a list, and they would review her needs and get back to her in a couple of days. She said a couple of days.
Yeah. Yeah. And and I don't dispute what you're saying at all. At all. There's no question that there are hardline conservatives in churches, who absolutely have callous hearts, or who are slow to sympathize. There's no question about that. There's also no question that you got people in churches who are actively engaged. In fact, one of the bright spots when it comes to churches is that young fella up in Chicago, David, I want to say his name is David Clark. He's a priest of some church. That's the guy that got a pepper ball shot at him in the face. I mean, he goes on the front line, man, and advocates for, advocates against the ICE, advocates against ICE to their faces, but in a very compassionate kind of way, and while he's also advocating for immigrant people. So you got both sides. There's no question both sides exist. Yeah.
And I think her point and mine as well. Her point
Mhm.
and mine as well. And because this is what I think, I truly do think this is, her point was, if you're a good person in these churches and you're giving your money to
Mhm.
these folks, and most of us would believe that the church is going to take that money and do good things with it. And
Mhm.
here I am
Or
calling
hope
this
so anyway.
church, yeah, here I am calling, and I need $20 for formula, 20 or $30 for formula to feed a starving baby, and they can't give it to me. Is this what is this what you think of when you give your money to the church? Is this what you think is happening?
Right.
Is this how you're
Right.
expecting your church to conduct itself? And that's what I think. I think, it's not a put down of the people going to the church at all. I think you're absolutely right that the overwhelming majority of those people going into those churches, I think every day, think of themselves as good people, would offer a helping hand, would go out and help somebody, I believe, if they had the chance. But at the same time, we're seeing a lot of folks who are, there are a lot of folks that care a lot more about the money. And then also there are a lot of folks out
Mhm.
there who are willing to put some people down and be skewed by the politics of it all, to put down their fellow human beings who are struggling. And that's been highly disappointing to see in a lot of
Sure.
ways.
Yeah, man.
I know you got our right wing bonehead for this
Yeah.
week, although I think this one might be an actual nut. I think we should go back to the nut on this one.
For this one, okay. All right, yeah, we're talking about Congressman Clay Higgins of Louisiana. He's a Republican, and he has the dubious distinction of having said some of the most stupid, asinine things that can be said about people in terms of generalizations. He said that SNAP recipients rather, who don't have a month's worth of groceries set aside, who haven't been able to, cobble together out of their meager benefits enough resources to have at least a month's worth of food stored up for such an emergency as the one they're in right now, should, quote, stop smoking crack, unquote. Now, that's just an asinine thing to say. It's an
It's
asinine
a
thing to say by an asinine person, in my
yeah.
opinion.
It's a hurtful thing. It's a hurtful,
Yeah.
it's an intentionally cruel thing to say. It's a mischaracterization. Maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he's so stupid he doesn't know. He has to know it's a mischaracterization of the overwhelming majority of people who receive SNAP benefits. It's a thing that is so despicable to say about struggling people and to characterize them in this manner. And not to mention, it's a completely and utterly tone deaf statement to make in the current economic climate in which so many people find themselves in.
Yeah.
It
You know
just,
what? If I can say this real quick, Josh, I was doing the math. I'm a single man, divorced single person, living by myself, and I spend well over $100 a month just to keep food in my stomach. And and granted, because I'm a vegan, I'm buying, a lot of stuff that may be a little bit more expensive than
yeah,
what the average person would get. But I try to eat healthy, and I'm at an age and at a stage of health where I really got to be careful with my health. So I try to eat healthy.
sure.
And I'm
Yes.
telling you, I far exceed in my spending the meager benefits that SNAP beneficiaries get, because I think for a family, if I'm not mistaken, they're getting under $500 a month. And I can
Oh,
tell you, I
yeah. I think
spend
it's
more than
280
$500.
bucks. I think it's
Yeah. Is
280.
it that
I think it's
low? Oh,
280.
okay. I thought it was a
Yeah.
little higher than that. But I know I, as a single person, spend more than $500 a month trying to make sure that I'm eating well, that I'm eating healthy.
Right.
So, like you said, this guy's got it was an asinine thing, callous thing to say. He's got a huge blind spot. He's either willfully dumb or unintentionally dumb about what the reality is. for people who are living in these conditions, you
I
know?
think this might be one of those unintentional dumb cases. And I got to tell you that I'm going to start using the
Maybe.
phrase unintentionally dumb from here on out. That will appear in a column at some point in the very near future. He is unintentionally dumb. But you're right. And listen, the amount of money that we give over to folks, there was also, videos that I've seen recently of, there was a disabled veteran and his wife that receive somewhere around $150 a month in SNAP benefits, and he made a video of what he had received from the local food bank, and just for this month, because they were not going to get the money, and it was paltry servings, and then in addition to that, a lot of it outdated. The bread was outdated, for example, and it just. I'm what gets me is we people bitch and moan about these people getting this money. Whether and I don't listen. I don't want to care. I don't care at all about the 1%, and that's what the fraud rate is. Okay, it's around 1% in the SNAP program, and they do a fantastic job of rooting out the fraud and eliminating those folks off the program. They really do. You should go and I've done it. I've done the stories, but while they bitch and moan about this, we've given away billions of dollars to people who don't need it, who do not need it. And that's what bothers me more than anything else, is to watch Jeff Bezos rent out an entire Italian city for his damn wedding while we've given him a $6 billion tax break. And we knew we'd give it to him. $6 billion over the last several years. That's how much he's gotten from just one small tax break from the first Trump term. And you've been here telling me that these folks making $280 are robbing you? Get the fuck out of here. Come on.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's asinine. Yeah.
We're going to get out of here. Y'all be safe out there.
Peace.